Hello Year 3, this is Mrs Hepplewhite and I am here to take you through your second geography lesson of this term. Now before we even think about writing the date and the title and the WILF into our topic books, I want us to jump right in with our total recall because this is all stuff that we did last week on the countries of the United Kingdom. So, the first thing I want you to think about is to name the 4 countries of the United Kingdom. And I've been quite nice to you this week because I have given you the first letter or letters of each of the countries. So if you need to pause the video while you have a think, you can do. Okay, I'm going to tell you the answer. I'm going to tell you that the 4 countries are England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. I'm going to have to move that or it will really bother me. There we go. England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Those are the 4 countries in the United Kingdom. Well done if you got those 4. Next question. Match the country to their capital. So I've got the 4 countries of the United Kingdom. I've got 4 cities. Can you match the country to their capital city? So again, pause the video while you have a think and then press play when you're ready for the answers. Okay, so I need my joiny liney thing for this. Okay, so I can tell you that England, its capital is London. Wales, the capital is Cardiff. Northern Ireland, the capital is Belfast. And that means Scotland's capital is Edinburgh. Well done if you got those right. And the last question for you is to name a famous landmark you might find in London. So we did discuss landmarks briefly last week about what a landmark might be. So again, pause the video while you have a think, press play for some answers. So I'm not going to list all of the landmarks in London because we'd probably be here all afternoon. But obvious ones would be Big Ben, St Paul's Cathedral, the London Eye, the Shard, all of those kinds of things. So I'm sure the one that you picked was right. If you're not sure, give it a Google, okay? But well done if you got any of those. So now it is time to get today's date, short date, title, quite a long title, sorry, and WILF written into your book. And when you've done that, let's see if I can get it all on the same screen. I have got here a little thing for you to do when you've finished. So if you do finish that and you fancy having a go, look at this picture here. Where do you think this is? What can you see? And what do you think happens there? So pause the video while you get all of that written into your book and press play when you are ready to go. Okay, so hopefully you've had a little think about this picture here, about where you think it is, what you can see and what you think happens there. Unfortunately, I can't hear any of your responses because you're through the screen, but hopefully that got you thinking about this kind of land use and what this land is being used for. So today's lesson is looking at human and physical features of the UK. Those are 2 very important keywords for today's lesson, and we'll be learning lots more about them as the lesson goes on. So I've got your WILFs here for today. So bronze, you're going to be able to name an example of a human and physical feature, so just a general example. Silver, you'll be able to explain the difference between a human and physical feature. Gold, you'll be able to name some specific examples of human and physical features in the UK. And challenge, you will be able to understand and explain how some features of the landscape can be both physical and human features. So lots to be thinking about there. Your learning powers today, reasoning, we're going to be using lots of reasoning later in the lesson when we're deciding if features are human or physical. And managing distractions, because I just think that's quite a nice one. I know when I'm working from home there are lots of things to distract me, so that's one that I'm working on right now as well. So your key vocabulary is physical, human and feature. Those are the 3 main words that I want you to be using and thinking about in today's lesson. So we're going to switch over to a PowerPoint, which is going to give us all of the information we need to start understanding today's lesson. So, just like magic, it's right here. So we're going to be looking at human and physical geographical features. So geography is usually divided into 2 main branches. We've got the physical geography and we've got the human geography. So first of all, it says talk about it. If you haven't got anyone to talk to about it, just have a think yourself. What do you think is meant by human and physical geography? So pause the video if you'd like to, Press play when you're ready to have a look at the next bit. So I can tell you that human geography relates to human activity or something that is humanly constructed, that humans have built. It studies the interaction between human activity and the planet, so how humans have an effect on the planet. So it might answer questions such as, what is the largest city in Africa? Why is the UK population growing? Why do we experience global warming? Anything that's linked to humans, that's either made by humans, caused by humans, humans have an effect on it, that is human geography. But then you also have physical geography, and this relates to geography that is naturally occurring. So whether humans were here or not on the planet, whether this would happen with or without us, it studies the natural environment and landscapes of our planet. So physical geography might answer questions like, what happens when a volcano erupts? Why does a river flood? How are mountains formed? You notice all of these things, volcano, river and mountain, they're there whether humans are there or not. So it's kind of something that's naturally occurring with or without human interference. Humans can have an effect on physical geography, but we're talking about the things that happen that naturally occur. Okay, so we're going to look a little bit closer into that, and hopefully that will become a little bit clearer. So some aspects of human and physical geography you may learn about. You may learn about human geography. This relates to human activity or something that is humanly constructed. So you can see all these different people here in all different professions. So we've got a photographer, a builder, a police officer, a mountaineer, an explorer. Oh, I don't know what this guy could be here. Looks like he's working in a very important job though. And we've got a scientist. So all of these people here is all human geography. All of these jobs, what's the word? I can't think of the word. Contribute. They contribute to human life in some way or another. So that's a form of human geography. They might include settlements. They're places where people live and work. They can vary in size and have different populations, from tiny hamlets, so that's something that's even smaller than a village, just maybe a couple of houses, to large sprawling cities like London. Studying settlements can also include looking at features such as homes, schools, shops, parks and libraries. So all of these humanly built things that we as humans use. I'm going to be dreaming of the word human tonight. I've said it about 50 times already. So settlements. Here's some examples. Land use. So land use is when humans use an area of land for a specific purpose to meet their wants and needs. The land may be used as it naturally exists or changed to fulfill a particular role. So the land that's already there might be built upon, might be altered in order to fulfill what is needed. So we've got residential land use. That's basically where we live, where we reside. So using land to build for houses. We might use land for agricultural purposes, which is all to do with farming. So whether we're farming animals or whether we're farming crops. Recreational, so things like parks and sports halls and all the sort of fun stuff that we like to do. We can use land for transport. So the London Underground, for example, when you go on the Underground, that was never there before. That had to be sort of excavated and dug out over a very long period of time. So that land was changed in order to make that transport link. And we've got commercial, so things like shops that we need obviously to go and get our food shopping. So those are the 5 different things and ways that we can use land. I just want to pause here and say, please do not panic if you're thinking there's no way I can remember all of this, okay? For today's activity, you don't need to remember all of this off the top of your head. This is just to kind of give you a little bit more information, okay? So don't panic. Okay, another way of using human geography is for economic activity. So the economy, this word here, relates to how good a place is at producing and making goods and how much money it has, so it's wealth. When we study economic activity, we look at the amount a country sells and makes, as well as their trade links with other areas. This can affect the country's wealth and other factors such as employment and housing. So that's not something we're going to look massively sort of closely into, but you will do as you go through your schooling. So looking at how much money a place can generate. And another form of human geography are the energy resources, so how we can get our light and our fuel. So when we study energy resources, we look at what opportunities an area of land offers to generate electricity. Some areas of land might contain what we call fossil fuels, which are coal, oil or gas. Other areas have an ideal climate or landscape for harvesting renewable energy sources, such as solar, which is when you get energy from the sun. So at Carbeal School, we have solar panels on our roof, which means that the sunlight transforms into energy, which is very clever. You can have wind energy. So whenever you've seen those big wind turbines, if you're on the A38 going down to, or the A30 I think it is, isn't it? The A30 going down to Cornwall, you'll see loads of wind turbines in the distance. Hydroelectric power, which is using water for power, or geothermal power. So that is another form of human geography. And there's some pictures there. There's some solar panels. That's how we get oil out of the ground, using one of these for fuel and energy. And we've got our wind turbines here. And we've got resource distribution. Humans rely on natural resources such as food, water, energy, and minerals for survival. Different areas of Earth have different amounts of each of these resources. When we learn about resource distribution, we explore the ways in which humans make use of different resources and how the location of natural resources affects the way we live our lives. So again, not one we're going to focus massively on, but that is another strand of human geography. And climate change, obviously a very big one at the moment. It's sometimes called global warming. It's the process of our planet heating up. We study the human causes of climate change and the effect it has on the planet. Learning about climate change also involves exploring possible solutions to this problem. Population means the number of people who live in a specific area. Populations change over time, and the population of Earth is growing rapidly. In geography, we explore possible reasons for changes in a place's population, for example, births, deaths, or migration. Migration is where people move from one place to another. Now, moving on to physical geography. Now remember, physical geography relates to geography that is naturally occurring, so without the interference of, or without needing humans in order to make it. So examples of physical geography are the weather. That happens whether humans would be here or not. So it refers to the state of the atmosphere in a particular place. When we study weather, we're thinking about elements such as the temperature, how wet or dry it is, the wind levels, or whether there are any storms. An area's average weather over approximately 30 years is described as its climate. So all words that you will have heard before: climate, temperature, weather. So weather is a form of physical geography. Also, climate zones. They're parts of the world where there are similar weather patterns. Studying climate zones involves learning about patterns of weather experienced in different parts of our planet and exploring the reasons behind them. This is a lovely picture here. We know that closer to the equator, this invisible line that goes around the middle of the Earth, is very, very hot, because that's where the Earth is closest to the sun. So their climate would be very, very arid, very, very tropical, hot. Whereas up here where we are, it's, it's not quite so hot, because we're not as close to the equator. So those are different climates. Another form of physical geography are biomes. They're parts of our planet with similar climates, landscapes, animals, and plants. When we study biomes, we explore elements such as temperature, rainfall, and soil to help us understand which plants and animals might live there. Some different types of biomes include rainforests, deserts, woodland, and grasslands. So again, lots of words and things you will have heard of before. Some nice pictures there. And mountains is another part of physical geography. So a mountain is an area of land that's usually over 600 metres high. They're often higher and steeper than hills, so there is a difference between a hill and a mountain. A mountain is usually much higher and steeper. When we learn about mountains, we explore how they're formed and where they are located on our planet. Studying mountains can link to learning about tectonic plates, volcanoes, and the layers of the Earth. And rivers is another one we're going to be looking at in more detail over this geography unit. So rivers are large natural streams of water. They flow downhill along a channel from their source to a sea, lake, or another river. Studying rivers involves learning about how they're formed and the different ways they might flow through changing landscapes. You might also explore how rivers can erode land over time, which means how they the land will crumble away as rivers pass through them. So we're going to be looking more at rivers as the weeks go on. And volcanoes. A volcano is a mountain or hill with an opening where lava, gases, and rock fragments can escape from. Studying volcanoes involves exploring how they are formed, where they are located, and the different types of volcanic eruptions. Learning about volcanoes is often linked to other areas of geography, including the layers of the Earth, tectonic plates, mountains, and earthquakes. So that's another form of physical geography, something that is naturally occurring. Humans don't control volcanoes. They cannot control when one goes off. They can't just plug it up. Um, the water cycle. The water cycle describes the constant recycling of all water on Earth. Water moves in a continuous cycle between the land, oceans, and atmosphere. When we study the water cycle, we learn about the sequence of evaporation, condensation, transpiration, precipitation, and collection. So that's another form of physical geography. And earthquakes, they occur when the plates of the Earth's upper layer, the crust, move and release stored energy. The sudden and intense shaking often results in much damage. We learn about what causes earthquakes, where they occur, how they are measured, and the destruction they can cause. Earthquakes are linked to our learning about the Earth's layers, tectonic plates, and volcanoes. So you can probably see from the past couple of slides that a lot of geography is linked, especially the physical geography. If you're studying one section of physical geography, it is usually linked to several others as well. So I'm going to show you a couple of photos on the next few slides, and I want you to decide if you think they show human or physical geography, but be careful because some images may show examples of both. So have a look at this photo here. Beautiful photo, lovely landscape. Do you think that is showing an example of human or physical geography? Pause the video if you want to, and then press play when you're ready for the answer. So it is showing physical geography because it's showing mountains, which we know are physical, and the river. Okay, so that is showing physical geography. Have a look at this photo and have a think about whether you think this is showing human or physical or both. Pause the video, press play when you're ready for an answer. I can tell you that this is showing both. This shows mountains and natural landscape. So this is the physical part. We've obviously got the lovely mountains in the background and the desert, but it's also showing this wind farm. These are these wind turbines I was talking about earlier, which has been created by humans for economic purposes and to create renewable energy. So it's showing both. What about this one here? Pause the video while you have a think, press play when you're ready for the answer. This one here is also showing both. It's mainly physical geography because we've got the mountains in the distance and this desert landscape, but we've got this road running right through it, which is clearly a human feature because it's clearly been built by humans. So this is linking back to that transport element we were talking about building and changing the landscape in order to suit us and our transport needs. Next one, very impressive storm here. Is this human or physical geography? Have a think. I can tell you it is physical geography because lightning is a naturally occurring weather event. We cannot control the lightning. If it's going to happen, it is going to happen. So it's a physical geography feature. And this one here, physical or human? Have a think. Press play when you're ready for an answer. This one here, again, is both. We've got the lovely physical features of the hills and the trees, but the human feature here is the sheep farming. This land has been chosen for farming use for economic purposes in order to gain money. So it's both. And this one here, have a really close look at this one. Make sure you look in the background as well. Human or physical? Can I just say, am I the only person who thought this was a diplodocus? I thought this was a dinosaur, but it's not. This is physical. Trees, large volcano in the distance. Physical features, they are naturally occurring. And this one here is an impressive picture of the United States of America from space. Do we think this is human or physical? It is both. It is the physical feature of land from space. Okay, it's naturally occurring, but the human features are clear. They're the lights from the many settlements below. So we can see here, there's a lot more light here than there is over here. So it's both. And that's the end of that PowerPoint. So I'm going to flick back to this one here. So now we've learned exactly what human and physical features are, we're going to try and relate it exactly to the UK because that is today's title for today. So I'm going to show you, actually no I'm not, you're going to open the Word document in a second that is also on Teams and it has some cards on there and they are showing human and physical features of the UK. I want you to try to decide which features you think are human and which features you think are physical. Now, it would help if you were to write these down, because it will help with your final independent task in a moment, okay? Or you can choose to wait until you've got the answers so that you know that you've got them right when they go in your book. It's up to you. So if you pause this video, if you head over to Teams, find the Word document that has all of the pictures on it. When you've had a little go at thinking as whether they're human or physical, come back here, press play, and I will show you the answers. So here are the answers. Now, I might have tricked you out a little bit because quite a few of them are both. So human features, we had Wembley Stadium, Tower Bridge, the Angel of the North, which is up in Gateshead in the north of England. We've got Edinburgh Castle, the London Eye, Houses of Parliament, the Roman Baths, love the Roman Baths in Bath. We've got King's College, which is a university in London, and we've got Windsor Castle in Windsor. So let's have a look at some of these questions I've got here. Why could Edinburgh Castle be both? Well, because it's actually built on a dormant volcano, which dormant means that it no longer erupts, so we don't have to worry about a volcano erupting in Scotland. But it is built on a dormant volcano, which is obviously a physical feature, but the castle itself is a human feature. It was built for people to live in, so that could be both. This one here, I told you just now, it's used for education, this building. It's used for people to go and get their further education. The London Eye. Why did you think humans built the London Eye? Well, it was built for economic purposes. It's a tourist attraction. It brings more people into London, and obviously when people go on it, they pay, and that gets some money into London. So that's why humans have built that one. And this one here, the Roman baths, make links to our last topic for this one. Why were they built? Well, they were built for people to bathe in, for recreational use, to go and enjoy themselves. So those were our human features. Now our physical features, we've got the Peak District, which is in Derbyshire in England. We've got the River Trent in Nottinghamshire, Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands, Fistral Beach, our very own in Newquay. We've got the Eden Project in St Austell, again our own county, Stonehenge in Wiltshire, Giant's Causeway, which is in County Antrim in Northern Ireland. We've got Durdle Door, which is up the coast in Dorset, Flamborough Head in North Yorkshire, Ben Nevis, which is the big mountain in the Scottish Highlands, and Mount Snowdon, which is in Snowdonia in Wales. So a couple of questions. Make links to our last topic. Why is Stonehenge both physical and human? Well, it's physical in the sense that it's made of these large rocks that are naturally occurring, and it's placed on this naturally occurring land, but it was built by humans. We discussed in our last topic how they could possibly have done that because of the size and weight of the stones, but it was built by humans. The Eden Project, what is the physical feature of this landmark? So we know the human feature, what was built are these biomes and, you know, all the stuff that goes with it, the cafes and the gift shop and the education centre. But what's the physical feature? Well, the Eden Project is built in a disused quarry. So that would be the physical feature with all of the hills and the trees around it as well. And these here are both examples of which type of physical feature. So Ben Nevis and Mount Snowdon, what are they both? They are both mountains. So we've answered this question here. Some of them can be both, and I've used my reasoning skills to explain why. Now, your task. I feel like I've spoken for ages. What are we on here? Oh yes, okay. Time to wrap this up before you get completely bored of my voice. So, your tasks today are for bronze, you will need to list 4 examples of physical and human features. Silver, you will need to write a sentence or two to explain the difference between a physical and a human feature. Gold, you will draw and label 2 physical and human features of the UK. And if you want to go for challenge, you need to choose one of those landmarks you've drawn and explain how it could be both physical and human. Now, to make this a little bit clearer, I have included again a waggle that I made showing you what it could look like. Okay, so up here I've labelled it, you don't need to do this, but I've labelled it so it's clear. So for bronze, you had to list 4 examples of a human feature. So I chose bridges, cities, statues and stadiums. They are all things that have been built by humans for various reasons. And I've listed 4 physical features. I chose mountains, rivers, beaches and seas, but you could choose 4 different ones if you want to. So that's my bronze up the top there, done. Now I've gone for silver, which is where I had to explain the difference between a human and physical feature. So I've written a human feature is something which has been built by humans. This might be somewhere to live, to help people move around, or to help make money. A physical feature is something which was created naturally. This could include landscapes such as rivers and mountains, the weather, and the water cycle. So I've explained in just a couple of sentences the difference between a physical and human feature. So you don't have to copy that exactly, you can put it into your own words. Now for gold, I had to choose two human features of the UK. So it could be two that we saw previously on the Word document, or it could be two that you know and just want to do yourself. I've drawn them. I've also coloured them as well because I think colouring looks quite nice. And I've labelled them, and I've chosen two physical features of the UK. So I've chosen the Eden Project and Durdle Door. So I've drawn them and labelled them and coloured them in. So that's my gold here. Now I've gone for challenge today. I wanted to choose one of these and explain why it was both. So I went for the Eden Project. I've said this can be both human and physical because it was built in a quarry, but the biomes were built by humans. So that's my challenge right there. So you know that you can pause the video here if you want to have that for help, or you could go back and you can pause the video here to remember what you need to do for each wilf. That is it for today's geography lesson. I hope you've enjoyed learning about physical and human features, and hopefully you now know the difference between them. We will cover it in our total recall next week, and I look forward, and your teachers are looking forward to seeing your work. So don't forget to send it to us on Teams. If you have any questions, pop them in the Year 3 Teacher Support Group at the correct time for this geography lesson, and someone will get back to you. Thanks very much for listening, and I will speak to you all very soon.